So with our Google Sheets app, what we have is a fully configured push button integration that's bi-directional, gets all elements from Workday Adaptive. So it lets you work and be more efficient within the productivity suite of your choice, in this instance, Google Sheets, but getting all the benefits and power of Workday Adaptive Planning and the benefit, the scale, breadth, and structure of that environment. What we've got, and I'm going to try and show as quick, reasonably efficiently as I can, a number of different aspects of Adaptive. But the idea is that we have the ability to both collect and report on data seamlessly from Adaptive Planning. I'll show you that sort of push button pulls of data, really helping you eliminate those error-prone downloads, uploads, copy and paste from Excel to Google if your organization does a lot within Google Workspace. We try and build the application to meet organizations where they are and what their needs are within the Google Suite. And I'll showcase a number of different elements. We have pure data extraction options, which get you up and running super fast, easy to use, and can get all aspects of your data. We also have a really nice and intuitive drag and drop report builder, really looking to provide the benefits of some of the Excel-based reporting that Workday Adaptive has that is not available across the Google Suite. And then also really work to make this bi-directional, that Google can be a great, efficient way to gather data, but a lot of teams still then have a lot of manual work once they've collected this from the field to getting it in. So showcasing that ability to be bi-directional and load data. So I'll look to, want to make sure we save plenty of time for Peter to share his story, because hearing from me, you can only believe me so much, but hearing from the real customers always gives us the best point of view on how a product really works. So I'm going to try and go through all of that. There's a lot of depth we could go into the product beyond that, but, in the next 10 or 15 minutes, I'll try and give you that nice overview. And I guess if you want to get more information, here's an information sheet and a URL where you can track this down. There'll also be a number of opportunities to get in touch with us to gather additional information about this exciting product that we have for offer, plus anything else that we do here at DataBlend. This is just one of many things we're offering targeted to kind of finance professionals to help them be more efficient in their day-to-day work. So with that, let's get in and show you what it really looks like.
You can now share your screen, Ethan.
Okay, great. All right. Hopefully you're seeing my screen.
We are.
Awesome. Excellent. Okay. So a couple of things I want to point out, and I'm going to go through, 3 or 4 different iterations of, DataBlend. So first, I'm here on a summary page. I want to just point out that DataBlend lives as an extension within Google Sheets. It then provides this pop-out menu where you see I've got a number of queries and jobs. It's super easy to get. You can just simply find it in the library here for Google Sheets. If we search for DataBlend, you'll find that we have our app right here for download. Now, downloading it takes only a moment for it actually to function with Workday Adaptive. You do have to have a license with us. Very easy to do, and we can kind of share any information on that. But I didn't want anyone to download it and then be disappointed they couldn't figure out how to get it to work. The idea here, again, I've sort of navigated and popped out my side menu here. There's this main navigation. I have a series of tasks, and I kind of wanted to walk through progressive levels of complexity. So on the most basic, you can see I've got a couple of adaptive tabs here. I'm looking at a summary report, Q1 versus budget with actuals month to date. So this is my formatted report. You will see this is leveraging our data export capabilities, which I'll show you in a moment. So this sheet is using formulas referencing this pull of data from Adaptive. What I want to first showcase is just if I popped into Adaptive, let's go ahead and make this a very large number here, just to kind of simulate this update, just to see the ease of use. So a user is making changes in the budget. Maybe you've been working on your board packages. Wow, now I don't want to have to redo everything. If you're in our tool, you simply are able to come in and we have the ability to edit, execute, or schedule these exports. Now, normally I would just hit execute, but I want to show you what the export builder looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this, and it pops up our export builder. What this does is it gives you all the options that are available to you in Adaptive. So you can see here, I've got my versions. It's got all of the versions available to me. You can set your time. Do you want quarters, months, year to date? I've selected a number of accounts that are supporting this, but you can see if you wanted to pick GL accounts, we have them. If you wanted, Cube accounts, we have them modeled, so on and so forth. So all available. It then has a series of other things like you can include account attributes. This one is just pulling at the top level, but I've also included for customers. You can see you can get all of your data elements really with a lot of ease. And then one of the nice things, we do add named ranges on these exports if you want. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. A data pull from Adaptive typically runs 30, 40 seconds, and that typically stays at that size for most data pulls. Something super large might run a little bit longer. The nice thing is once it's scheduled and running, you can see it's running over here on the sidebar. If I wanted to go ahead and do some additional work in the sheet while that's loading, that doesn't prevent me from doing that. So while that, you can be working away doing your thing. So if I just wanted to add a net income percent here or something like this, I can do that, format that. Bring that across. So again, that processing has been taking place in the background, and I was able to make these updates. So that's going to complete here in a second. It's refreshing the data. And there you go. You can see my budget for office expenses went up by that $1 million that I entered right there. It was 487 before. So super easy to use, very accessible is the idea of the data export. And if you have a large package of tabs, where the data set, you just need to refresh it constantly. The ability to load this, schedule it, super easy. Now, taking it up a step, I'm going to jump over to this tab. We have, same concept. We were working in here, and I haven't refreshed this data. So you can see it's March data. I have a P&L. It's by, gross revenue broken out by customer. I have expenses. I have units up here. So all sorts of data. You'll note there are no formulas in this tab. So this is a drag and drop report that we have built. So you can see here is I've got this report. Similarly, if I wanted to refresh this, and I actually will, because I want to show you how our variations, as we call them, but parameters for reports work. If we go ahead and click the edit button, it's going to bring up our report builder. And what you'll see here is you have a very familiar sort of pivot table style drag and drop builder. We have fields which are loading right now. So you can see these are all the fields that were available to us that we connected to Adaptive. So you can see I've got a few different versions I pulled. I've got my customer data, which you actually can see here in my row group. So I'm pulling units broken out by customer with a total units, which is a subtotal. We include a number of tools. So subtotals, row groups, which you're in right now. The row groups work a lot like report segments, if you're familiar with those within the Adaptive browser, where the elements here, units by customer, if I look at this row group, do not factor into my expense row group, which is simply broken out by accounts. So it's all very, very easy drag and drop. We also, can put in calculations. So you can see we have actuals and budget. You can put in the calculation logic on how you build your variance, calculation. And then what's neat, and I'll show you this in a second, you have the ability to run different variations, we call it. So you can see here, if I close this row group, we're in February. If I jump over to the March variation, you can see it jumps me to March. So I build out all of these parameters, and I'll show you where you'll see that elsewhere momentarily. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this data. I moved it from February to March, so we'll see, some data update here. Same idea. This will take a second. It's going to now take all of these data elements and, start processing. Similarly, if we wanted to make edits here, these reports do tend to run a little bit faster than the data exports because we are doing more of the heavy lift inside DataBlend versus in Google Sheets, which is where the time on that export load typically comes from. So just a second here. Oh, I ran it for March again. So you can see the data ran for March. I will point out here now, if we go back to my edit, what I showed you the report builder, but where you would typically use a report, you just have this execute button. And if we bring up the execute screen, if you recall those variations that I showed you, we have those now available at runtime. So if you build a number of these reports and then share them with a user, I can change and run for whatever version I need. So here I've got March. I could change this to February. We'll go ahead and rerun it. This can work for any different permutation. So I'm showing you a time example where this will change from March back to February in this instance, but you could have that being filtering by level, by department, by whatever you needed to do. And again, it just creates a different slice of the same report for a person to choose as a runtime parameter and update their data. Give that a second. It should refresh right here. And there you can see the data flip back to February. Data changed slightly, not a whole lot going on here, but it gives you that idea. So really easy to interact with. I have another, example of a report, just very basic one, expenses by quarter, by supervisory org. And I'm just going to show you just kind of the ease of kind of the drag and drop capability here. So you can see we've got my supervisory org, which are an attribute broken out by total expenses across these quarters. And if rather than actuals, I just want this to be working budget, you simply make that drag and drop change, save and execute, and it'll refresh that data set. So super easy to change reports, redo, rebuild, and all of this is pulling right off of your live current adaptive data set. So we'll give that a second to run here. What you'll see is, again, this will go from actuals to working budget. And the idea being that, again, users can be in the tool, you can be making live updates in adaptive, and you get your reports right back here. You can see we have working budget. So then, and I'm going quickly because I want to make sure we've got a good amount of time for Peter. But I want to show this final example, which is, the CRM data. So this is now going to be an example of bidirectional data. So let's say this is a modeled sheet. I'm going to update, let's see, this Atlantic Federal Credit for Corp and Blizzard Financials, and I'm going to save this. So they're now in Sales East, which is where we are working from here on out. If I jump back here, you can see I don't have either of those data elements here. If I bring up my menu, I have the ability to pull my data from adaptive, and actually I should have hit the edit or execute button. I hit edit by mistake, but I guess it's all right. I can show you the slight difference here in this UI, which when we pull a modeled sheet from adaptive, I have all the modeled sheets available to me. So I've chosen this modeled sheet. I'm choosing the columns I want. I'm going to go ahead and hit execute. It's going to pull back the latest set of data for this sheet. And then I'm going to make some updates and we're going to load it right back into adaptive, all from Google. So the idea being you can have an end user that doesn't like to go into adaptive and wants to live here in a sheet. They're more comfortable with it, or you do budget meetings and finance controls adaptive, but you need to collect data from people in the field. This approach will let you pull that granular data, know that it's current, and then push it back. And the way this is configured, it actually does both an add as well as an update back into adaptive. So you can see we picked up a number of additional rows. Right here's the Blizzard Financial, Atlantic Federal Corp. So now let's say we're going to make some changes. Let's take Aspen Technologies here as an example. Let's just highlight it so we know we're working on it. Let's make this, it's now $1 million. And why don't we use Liaison as Aldo? We'll make that $1 million. Just something nice and easy to see. So I updated those. And then let's pick a dimension here. Let's look, we don't have, we'll have a new sale for Albion Motors. Just make sure I spelled that right. I did not. Glad I checked. So you can actually set this up to have a list that validates, but in this instance, I don't have that. I'm going to copy all of my information down from Adidas just to save time. But now let's, so we've added these 2 rows or edited those 2 rows, and we've added this row. So again, you've been working with someone actively on a worksheet. So now if we bring back up my actions, never going into adaptive, you've got now my update CRM data. You can simply click this execute button, And this can be parameterized. This example, I did not put a parameter on, but right here, right below workflow, you can have a drop down for your versions. I'm going to go ahead and hit execute, and that's going to take this data. It's going to update these records, and it's going to add the additional record for the row I added. Give that a second to run, and then we'll refresh our data just to see it all all happen. But generally, hopefully, all very easy to use. If you've seen, I haven't done any programming or coding in any of this. This is all configuration on the export side, what you want to drag and drop. And then on the reporting side, any formatting you put into your sheets gets retained. So really, provides, a lot of flexibility and capability to, you can see we've got success. Let's go ahead and navigate down to Sales East, where we made our changes. And you can see, right, Aspen Tech updated to 1 million, Eliason added to 1 million, and Apollon Motors was added. So not only pulling data from Adaptive into Google, but putting it back in all in real time with push button.